back at my local woods again today, and as you can see, totally blue skies. There are a few small clouds about, fairly low down, but very little overhead. This means that I don't have to certainly come around concentrating, say, like on macro images, because it's overcast and not really much there. And I've just come off the beaten track here. This is a pathway I've walked down once before, and I've got this sort of winding track here. And I think I've mentioned before, I mean, landscapes is just not my thing normally, but just thought I'd get the camera, get the tripod out, looking at possibly being fairly low, wide angle lens, and see what I can come up with. The first thing really is to get the camera out and the wide angle lens. So I'm looking at my 16mm, and I think I may well even see whether the polarization makes a lot of effect, even though I've got the sun possibly at the wrong angle. I'm just going to see first of all what that frames up like. Don't even think I need the polarizer. I think the polarizer might cause more issues. This is the view that I've got there, and just like the way the pathway leads in the middle here, and by sticking this in a portrait mode, wide angle lens really emphasizes the height of those trees. So the good thing about using a wide angle lens and being really low down, just converges all of these tall trees, and it just makes them look, so I mean, normally when you've got the camera fairly straight like this, the trees just properly converge very slightly, but the moment you go lower down and look up, it just gives such a different perspective that you tip the camera up and all of a sudden they all converge in a lot more. If you have the option to download your images from your camera to your phone, I'd say it's always worthwhile doing one every now and then when you're out in the field. And that's purely simply, I did it with this last image that I've just taken with the pathway there with the 16mm lens, and right at the top of the image I just noticed looked like a bit of hair, so I had to take another sort of test image and check what it was like, check the camera and everything. Couldn't really find anything on the display when I was previewing it, but it just appeared there when I took the image. And it turns out that I had to take the filter off the lens, and there was a minute little hair on the inside of the filter. And I've just wandered up the path a little bit further, and I just keep finding all these sort of like interesting things. So there was a trunk further back there, and it was covered in this sort of like greenery type stuff. It was a really big sort of like piece of trunk, and the way it looked was that it could be that you was flying over a large forest in a helicopter. And I just found this sort of scene interesting here, and I've just tried a few different camera shots. I did try a lot lower down to start with, because I like this greenery base and what looks like algae growing over the sort of like the broken off stump at the end there, so it just gives that total contrast. And the initial image I had was that it doesn't look too bad, but you've got sort of like some of these grey branches, and they were all sort of sprouting out in the background, which I didn't have too much of a problem with. In some ways I quite like it because it's just quite natural. But I've also just this time raised the camera up, and again, because I'm fairly close, even shooting at something like f13 doesn't always give you the proper depth of field, so I've just gone for a 5 stacked image on here, and I've just changed how I like it, because the little pieces of grass coming out the side there, I didn't want them fully in focus, so I just wanted the focal point on the green bit at the bottom here and that fallen part of the trunk. There's something really nice about wandering around the woods like this. it's only about 7 degrees, but it feels a lot warmer in that sun. Got a lovely day. The clouds are starting to appear more, so I just have to watch out when I take some of the images, especially if I'm looking at stacked images, because the clouds can just come in and out and change the lighting on the image. I'm fairly sort of central to the woods now. This small lake here doesn't appear on any maps or anything like that. There's no sort of known footpaths, even though there's tracks around here. And I have walked past here once before. I think I went along the other side when I was coming down from the top there. But when I was coming around here this time, initially I was looking at things like the reflections. I thought, well, this could be another nice place for reflections, but there is a slight ripple to the water, so nothing is going to be very sharp, albeit the reflections are really nice. But through here, you've got all these bubbles, what looks like bubbles, stuck on top of the water. Whether it's actually bubbles or not, or other things which are just catching the light and throwing off that white light, I'm not sure. But there's been a couple of ducks around here as well. So I've gone for my older EF lens because I needed a longer reach here. And I've actually got as low as I possibly can, because I've also got these branches here, which may well be affecting the image, but they're going to be so blurry and out of focus that I don't think they're going to be too much of a problem. And shooting on these sort of like light bits, there goes a duck there now on the left, shooting on these light bits going through there, and you do get, it's very monochromatic, and you do just get a little hint of colour for the greens in the bank on the far side. So I had been waiting around just for ducks to go across in the right place, and I've just taken probably about 5 or 6 images with a duck going across, and I think it's actually the very first image where the duck was on the far left hand side, which I think suits the image better, because the duck is going across into the image facing it, rather than being smack bang in the middle, and there's sort of no real balance to the image. Now I thought I would just try and get the camera even lower, so I've come down by the bank a bit further. At the moment I come down to the bank, I don't know whether it's going to show on this camera, but all these frogs in the water. One, hopefully you can visibly see down here. There's another couple there. 1, 2, 3. They're all along here. Come around the other side of this lake now, and just where the 2 geese are there and the duck is where I was taking that sort of like the monotype image. All along the bank on that side is just full of frogs, and they're all spawning down there. And I can just see I've got, I don't know what it shows here, I've got a bright patch just down there. That's another frog down there. When I walked around this side, just got these lovely reflections, and I have taken a couple of images quickly before the geese will come around there, because they were originally over on this right hand side, and I started off just here on the right a little bit, and I wasn't overly pleased with it, so I've just moved to the left a little bit because I wanted to get lower down, because these sort of reed arms were getting in the way, and I've just got one here which I have to just gently pull out the way for when I take the image. But then the last thing that's spoilt the image is these vapour trails from the planes coming across, so I may well have now missed my best chance of the image here, but I will wait a little while just to see if they disperse and whether this ripple drops out again. Now I've decided to get my larger lens out, so really pleased that I brought it today, despite that extra 2 kilos of weight carrying around. And the geese were going backwards and forwards here, and they eventually got out literally on the bank where I was standing earlier. Well, there's actually a duck on there now, and they've just flown off into the distance making a right racket. I suspect they've probably gone off to one of the other two lakes that's over there, and there goes the duck as well. But at the same time as well, there's been a few frogs around here. I can still see one just down there in a bit of sunlight. And I have actually got one or two pictures of those as well, which I'm hoping they've come out quite reasonable. So it's really nice to see such a variety of wildlife. Here is one of the streams that just runs in to keep this lake topped up, and it's one of those things that it looks amazing here. I don't know whether it's purely and simply because of the contrast with the real darks, and then we've got this lovely reflection, and then the bright greens and everything caused by the sunlight. But I just feel that for this image to work properly, some of these darker areas would just need to be lit better, and I don't know whether the sun would ever actually be in the right place to light things as needed. So I think it's just one of those images that would be great with the much better lighting in the right place, but may never happen. And similarly, a little bit further round, which is another part where the pond, I think, runs into more inlets on the side here, is that again this looks amazing. Got these two islands here with the trees, and at the base of these islands the greens on them is so vibrant and deep, it looks like a really saturated green. If again these were lit by sunlight to go with the bag, I think it would look a lot better. But as it is, it's just, and again we've got these lovely reflections in the front here. Even with the water shimmering a bit, they still look really nice, but it just needs that extra light. I've just got back to the car, been here probably about 4 hours, and my very first steps were literally through this lot where my boot sunk up to my ankles, and that sort of seemed to be the theme of the day, that a lot of these tracks were so wet and muddy, and in the end just didn't care. What have I got from today? Got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed today. It's been really nice. I think with the blue skies, sunshine for a change, even though I started having to defrost the car when I left home this morning, the sun has just felt so nice and warm. And even though we're still in winter time, and I've been concentrating more on things like either parts of things or the macro photography, my whole mind sort of just changed. I came here looking on the ground for the small things and the buds and everything to possibly do some macro photography, but the first lens I got out was a wide angle lens on that pathway, and it just went on from there, that wherever I went it was always looking at sort of like the bigger picture. And I've used a whole range of lenses. So I've gone from the 16mm wide angle, I've used my 24-105mm lens, I've used my old EF 75 300mm lens, and then I've even got out the large 150-600mm lens. And it hasn't just been sort of like landscape and that, it's actually been nice to actually have the nature photography as well for a change. So, and I was totally shocked with the amount of frogs that were in that pond stroke small lake, all there spawning. And at the same time then I had a couple of geese on there and a couple of ducks. Didn't really see too much of the ducks, but the geese at one point were going backwards and forwards nicely, where I could get one or two nice images with my large lens, and hopefully they've come out nice as well. Now, I did weigh my rucksack when I went home last time to see what the weight was. Rucksack itself with all the equipment in, 10 kilos and a 2 kilo tripod, so it's 12 kilos I've been carrying on my back most of the time. So for me today it was well and truly worthwhile carrying everything with me. It's a lot of weight to carry around, and I'm sure some people must think I'm mad carrying that much equipment around, but I don't find it an issue carrying it around so much. As long as you're not doing too much climbing up and down like that, you don't really feel it so much on your back, and at least that way I've got all the equipment there should I need it. So I have actually used quite a range of equipment today, far more than I normally do. Hopefully this is now a true sign of spring, and I've got to say that I've just noticed while I've been stood here that I've got a ladybird just wandering around here looking full of life, and there's actually a couple more on the post there as well. Hopefully with a bit of luck this is now the weather changing, and it means we can get out and do a lot more photography, as long as it's just not too wet. Thanks a lot for watching.